Okay, so we're going to talk about how to first void items on bills and also multiple items or the entire bill at once, for example. So first let's show that. So what I'm looking at here is a bill that's already been saved. We had a couple of beers on a highball and a top shelf on here. And let's say, for example, there was a mistake. Actually, it was we didn't actually have the can, or maybe we ran out of the can. So let's void that. So one way you can do that first is you can click into this, and you can also click multiple things like this, for example. And then you can, let's say I just want to avoid the short can in this case. You can also, once that's selected, you can click the three dots. So also if you selected multiple items, they would all be selected, and then you can choose to avoid it this way. Comp this is also the same way you would do comp if you want to comp an item instead. Another way you can do voiding a single item is with a shortcut. So you can actually click or in this case, tap and drag on the screen. You'll see void shows up on the right hand side. So then you can just void it that way. And then anytime you go to void something, there'll be a list of reasons that come up. So for example, in my case, I'm going to test it, but another example could be I have an entry error, or there was let's say we ran out of the can, so the item is no longer available. Whatever is applicable for your reason here. So let's go ahead and go test order for our case. You can see now it's voided, there's a line through it, so it's not being counted towards the total. But let's say, for example, the whole bill was a mistake, and let's just redo everything, or for whatever reason we decide to void everything. So the way you would do that for the entire bill, if it's quite long, rather than click void, you can click actions here and just hit void bill. So everything on the bill gets voided in that case. So in this case, we're just going to do a test order, void, boom, there we go. So that's all done and taken care of at this point. So the next thing here is basically how to go and reprint a receipt, or looking at those past transactions. So in this case, because these are all past, whether it's been paid for or it's been closed to AR, what you want to do here is go to transactions here, and then you want to find the transaction you're looking for. So let's say, for example, I want to look at that last one I just voided, or sorry, not the last one that was there, so it's no longer there anymore. So in this case, this is actually a transaction that went through for $24 cash. I want to see what that transaction was about. The customer is saying, hey, actually, I want to make sure I send a copy to my accounting team so that I can expense this later. So you go, once you've clicked to the transaction on the right, there's an option here for new receipt. So if you have a printer attached, in my case I don't, but if you did, there would be an option here to print the receipt. Otherwise, we can enter a phone number to text a receipt, or you can enter an email address to email it somewhere. So in this case, let's say they want to send it to their accountant. They give you the email address of their accountant, sends it over there, and then they'll take care of the rest afterwards. So that's it. Again, if there was a printer connected, there would be a button here to say print receipt. You can just hand them the printed receipt, and then they're on their way. So the next thing to talk about here will be how to reopen a bill. Now, unfortunately, I'll show this here. So on the Square Register itself, you can look at closed bills. So in this case, I had a bill that I actually paid for, and you can see the information for the bill. But unfortunately, you can't really do much with this on the Square Register. The reason for this is the ability to reopen closed bills and closed checks only exists on the iPad version. So there's going to be another video here on showing how we access that on an iPad. But because most people won't be walking around with iPads, it's going to be the IT team likely that's going to take care of this for you. So you should probably radio into them and say, hey, can we open up the closed bill on bar 3-4, for example. We want to make sure everything was done correctly, or they want to change the card that was paid for. That's all possible to do. So you just have to radio into them and let them know which one you're reopening. So that's it for this video. Check out the next video that's going to talk about that, how to do that on the iPad.